The gavel slammed down like a thunderclap in that stuffy county courthouse. But it was the judge's voice that shattered me. Marriage denied. This union defies the laws of God and man in the eyes of this court. Damien's hand went limp in mine, his knuckles white from gripping too hard. And in that split second, I saw our future bleed out onto the cold marble floor. I lunged forward, my voice cracking like dry lightning. Your Honor, this isn't about laws. It's about love. We've waited years, buried our dead for this. But the bailiff's meaty paw clamped my shoulder, yanking me back as Damien whispered, Ezra, don't, not here. Outside, under a sky bruised purple with impending storm, Damien collapsed against the courthouse steps, his sobs muffled against my chest. They can't stop us forever, I murmured, but even as the words left my lips, my phone buzzed with the call that would unravel everything. The historic Willow Creek Inn, our dream venue, canceling our wedding reservation. Policy change, the manager said curtly. We don't host events like yours anymore. That was the hook that dragged me under. The raw injustice of it all 40 years after Stonewall, in the heart of Georgia peach country, where sweet tea hid bitter roots. But Grandma's ghost wouldn't let it end there. Not after she'd inked that reservation with her arthritic hand back in '85, dreaming of the day her little Ezra would find his forever. I was 8 when Grandma first whispered about Willow Creek. We were knee-deep in her heirloom tomato patch behind the old Victorian in Macon, the summer sun baking the red clay earth into something that smelled like freedom and regret. She was a force of nature, Evelyn Hargrove, with silver hair pinned like a crown and eyes that had seen the world shift under her feet. Jim Crow crumbling, women marching, and quietly, in the shadowed corners of her Baptist heart, the stirrings of acceptance for folks like me. Even then, as a kid wrestling with why the boys in Sunday school made my stomach flip in ways the girls never did, she knew. One day, sugar, she'd say, wiping dirt from my cheeks with her calloused thumb. You're gonna stand in the prettiest ballroom in Georgia and promise your heart to someone who sees all of you. And I'll be right there, front row, fanning myself with the program. She booked it that fall, a lifetime away. Willow Creek Inn, perched on the Okmulgee River bluffs, was the crown jewel of Southern hospitality. Crystal chandeliers from the antebellum era, gardens blooming with magnolias that perfumed the air like old money. Grandma had eloped there in '52. Her wedding to Grandpa a whirlwind of lace and laughter before the war machines and cotton mills ground him down. It's magic, she told me, sealing the envelope with a wax stamp that bore our family crest. A willow tree, bending but unbroken. For when you're ready. No takebacks. She passed before I ever kissed a boy who kissed back. Ovarian cancer, swift and merciless, like a Georgia twister. I was 22, fresh out of Emory with a journalism degree and a closet door half-cracked. At her funeral, under a tent sagging with rain, I found the letter tucked in her Bible. Reserved for Ezra Hargrove and guest. October 15, 2030. Love eternal, Evelyn. The date was arbitrary, she joked once. Far enough in the future to give me time to find my prince. But it became our anchor. Damien crashed into my life 3 years later, at a dive bar in Atlanta's Midtown, during Pride Month when the city pulsed with rainbows and rebellion. He was nursing a whiskey sour, his dark curls tousled like he'd just rolled out of a protest march, those hazel eyes locking on mine across the sticky bar top. You look like you could use a revolution, he said, sliding onto the stool beside me. His laugh was a spark, wry warm, the kind that cut through the noise of Lady Gaga blasting overhead. We were opposites stitched together. Me, the wide-eyed dreamer with ink-stained fingers from freelance articles on queer history. Him, the activist firebrand, tattooed sleeves peeking from his flannel, always one rally away from arrest. Damien grew up in the foster system, bounced between Atlanta group homes after his mom OD'd when he was 6. Love's a scam, he'd quip early on, but his walls crumbled fast. Our first date was a picnic in Piedmont Park, where he confessed, voice barely above the cicadas, I think you're the glitch in the matrix I've been waiting for. By our second anniversary, we were rings shopping in a hidden Piedmont Park jeweler's, whispering vows under the live oaks. And Willow Creek, It was non-negotiable. For Evelyn, Damien said, tracing the faded ink on the reservation. We mailed the deposit that week, hearts full as the Chattahoochee. The call came 6 months ago, on a muggy July dawn. I was frying okra in our tiny midtown apartment when my phone lit up with the 478 area code. Mr. Hargrove? This is Harlan Beaumont, manager at Willow Creek Inn. His drawl was thick as molasses, laced with something sour. Regrettably, we must cancel your booking. Recent. Ownership changes. We can't accommodate same-sex ceremonies. My spatula clattered into the skillet, oil spitting like accusations. What? You have our deposit. Grandma reserved this 40 years ago. It's binding. Pause, heavy as humidity. Times change, son. Our good Christian values don't. You'll get a refund. No hard feelings. Damien found me slumped at the kitchen table, the phone clutched like a grenade. He read the letter aloud, his voice steady at first, then fracturing. This is bullshit, Ezra. We're fighting it. That night, we lay tangled in sheets damp with sweat and unshed tears, his breath hot against my neck. I love you, he murmured, fingers weaving through mine. More than any courtroom or bigot's policy. It was the deepest we'd ever gone. Raw, vulnerable, the kind of love that scared you because it felt like home. But betrayal slithered in like Spanish moss. My Uncle Roy, Grandma's brother, the family patriarch with his tobacco-stained grin and Bible-thumping sermons, called the next day. I'd always chalked his side eyes at pride stickers on my fridge to generational grit. Ezra, boy, he drawled over the line. Heard about the hotel. It's a sign, maybe. Willow Creek's always been for traditional unions. Evelyn. Well, she meant well, but the world's gone mad. My blood ran cold. Uncle Roy, you knew about the reservation. You were there when she mailed it. A chuckle, oily. Folks say things in grief, but I talked to Harlan, pulled some strings. For the family's sake. The pieces clicked. Roy owned half the inn, inherited from Grandpa. He'd twisted the knife, citing values to mask his bigotry. Betrayal burned hotter than any rejection. Blood turning on blood. Damien paced our living room, fists clenched. He's poison, Ezra. Cut him out. But family was Grandma's legacy. Tangled roots I couldn't just uproot. We rallied anyway. Lawyers, petitions, a viral thread on X that lit up queer networks from Atlanta to San Francisco. Grandma's Ghost Wedding. Fighting for Love in the Peach State. I titled it. Attaching scans of the yellowed letter. Shares poured in stories of lost venues, denied cakes, echoes of Obergefell crumbling at the edges. Damien's fire fueled us. He dragged me to strategy sessions at the local Lambda Center, his passion a balm on my fraying nerves. Yet doubt gnawed. Nights blurred into whispers. What if we just elope in Vegas? Screw the drama. Damien's eyes would darken, haunted. No, this is for Evelyn. For us, we don't run. His vulnerability cracked open then, admitting foster scars, the fear that love like ours was too fragile for forever. I'd hold him, tracing the willow tattoo he'd inked on his forearm after reading Grandma's letter. Bending, not breaking. Our romance deepened in the trenches, stolen kisses in courthouse lobbies, slow dances in our kitchen to Coltrane records, where words failed but bodies spoke volumes of devotion. The climax hit on the eve of what should have been our wedding week. We'd sued, forcing a hearing at the Macon Superior Court. Uncle Roy testified first, perched in the witness box like a vulture, droning about heritage and sanctity. Evelyn was confused in her later years. He lied, voice booming. Cancer addled her mind. That reservation? A whim, not a contract. I bolted up, heart hammering. Liar. She was sharper than all of us. Wrote my college essays while chemo dripped. The judge banged his gavel, but Damien squeezed my hand under the table, his touch an anchor. Then it was Harlan's turn, the manager, fidgeting in his starched collar. Mr. Beaumont, our lawyer pressed. Did you receive the Hargrove reservation in 1985? He nodded reluctantly. And honor similar bookings for mixed events? A squirm. Yes, sir. The courtroom held its breath as I took the stand, clutching Grandma's Bible like a shield. She believed in second chances, I said, voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. For outcasts, for lovers who didn't fit the mold. This inn was her gift to me. Not just a room, but a promise that love wins, even in Georgia. Damien testified last, his words a thunderclap. Ezra's not just my fiancé, he's my revolution. We've buried friends to AIDS, marched against bans, loved through it all. Canceling this? It's not policy, it's fear. Tears carved tracks down his cheeks, and for the first time, Uncle Roy looked away, shame flickering in his eyes. The judge ruled that afternoon. Contract upheld. Willow Creek must host. But victory tasted bittersweet. Roy stormed out, disowning me in a venomous voicemail. You're no kin of mine. Betrayal's sting lingered, a scar on the joy. October 15th dawned crisp, azaleas flaming against the river's gleam. The ballroom shimmered, chandeliers twinkling like stars Grandma would have chased. Guests filled the pews. Damien's ragtag chosen family from the streets, my queer kin from Emory, even Aunt Clara, Roy's sister, who'd defected with a fierce hug and a flask of bourbon. Evelyn's smiling today, she whispered. Damien waited at the altar, resplendent in navy wool, his smile breaking me open. Vows spilled like river water. Mine, a litany of Grandma's wisdom. His, a fierce pledge against the world's tempests. I choose you, Ezra Hargrove, in every storm and sunrise. Rings slid on, simple gold bands etched with willows, and as we kissed, the room erupted, magnolia petals raining down. We danced that night under the same chandeliers that lit Grandma's elopement, Coltrane weaving through the air. Damien pulled me close, breath warm. We did it. For her. For us. No ghosts haunted the floor, only echoes of triumph. Months later, a letter arrived at our new bungalow in Decatur. Uncle Roy's scrawl. Saw the photos. Evelyn was right, you bent, but didn't break. Forgive an old fool. We burned it in the backyard fire pit, ashes scattering on the wind. Betrayal doesn't vanish, but love? It rebuilds, humanistic and unyielding, one defiant step at a time. In the end, Willow Creek wasn't just a venue. It was redemption. A reminder that promises, once made, outlast prejudice. Damien and I, we're still writing our story, page by tender page, in the America we refuse to let winnow our light.